The story of Channon Christian and Chris Newsom is one of those crimes that hits you in the chest before you even realize you've stopped breathing. It starts so ordinary it hurts. Two young, good people on a simple date night in Knoxville. They weren't doing anything wild, nothing dangerous, nothing you'd warn a friend about. They had dinner, laughed, talked about their week, and drove to see friends. It was the kind of night every couple has, the easy, everyday kind. And that's what makes what followed so brutal. It came out of nowhere. After parking Channon's Toyota 4Runner outside a friend's apartment, Chris stepped out first, with Channon right behind him. That's when a group of attackers materialized, like wolves stepping out of the dark. They weren't there for money, they weren't there for the car. They were simply hunting. The ambush was fast and violent. Both were taken at gunpoint, forced into the vehicle, trapped before they even had time to fight back or make sense of what was happening. The calm, quiet night flipped into something nightmarish in seconds. They were taken to a small, grim house on Chipman Street, a completely ordinary-looking rental from the outside. Inside, it was held disguised as a living room. The attackers separated them immediately. Chris, trying to stay brave, trying to protect Channon, was assaulted, tortured, and taken outside to be murdered. His body was dumped beside a set of railroad tracks, shot, tied, and then set on fire to destroy evidence. Even seasoned officers said the scene felt unreal, like something pulled from the worst, most violent corners of human imagination. Channon's ordeal stretched on even longer. She was held inside that house, assaulted, tortured, beaten, and subjected 2 hours of cruelty so extreme that even hardened investigators had trouble reading the reports. The official case file was sealed for years because the details were too horrific for the public. She was still alive when the attackers finally shoved her into a trash bin, bound and gagged, covered in bags, left to suffocate slowly. She died in the dark, alone, in a moment that should never happen to any human being. The level of violence wasn't just physical, it was psychological, ritualistic, a deliberate act of dehumanization. The investigation should have been straightforward. Overwhelming evidence, multiple suspects, a crime so vicious it should have been open and shut. Instead, it turned into one of the messiest legal disasters in Tennessee history. The judge overseeing the case was later exposed for being high on drugs during the trial, literally impaired while handling one of the worst crimes the state had ever seen. That incompetence forced retrials, put the families through years of emotional torture, and reopened wounds they were barely surviving. Imagine sitting in a courtroom and hearing a stranger casually confirm the worst details of your child's final hours, then being told you have to go through it again because the judge couldn't stay sober. It was a failure so embarrassing, it became its own scandal. The details eventually leaked. The community exploded in grief and rage. People questioned the police, the courts, the motives, the sheer evil behind it. The families were thrust into the spotlight against their will, forced into interviews, hearings, and statements they never should have had to make. And through it all, the thing that haunted everyone was how normal the couple's night had started. Anyone could picture themselves in their shoes. It was random, senseless, and shockingly cruel, the kind of crime that leaves permanent scars on a city. Even today, the story is whispered more than spoken. People avoid describing the details because they stay with you. They stick under your skin. It remains one of the most brutal double murders in modern U.S. crime history, not just because of what happened, but because of the total collapse of the systems meant to protect victims and deliver justice. The horror wasn't just in the house on Chipman Street. It spread into the courts, the news, the community, every space where this case dragged on. And the weight of it still hangs over Tennessee like a storm cloud that never fully clears.